Good morning, everyone. My name is Tori Henson. My name is Aiden Ellenport, and I'll be your lady. Growing up is a magical thing, but what is it? Is it the loss of naivety, gain of experience? Is it, like the passing of time, inevitable? How do we know when we're grown up? And are we ever completely? I would like to open these questions up to the congregation, for I'm curious to hear what you believe. So, does anyone have any input on what they believe growing up is?
I don't know that I'm not addressing the what is it part, but I think what the interesting is when you're a kid, you look at grown-ups and you don't realize that we still feel like we're like 30 years younger or even more inside, you know, and you guys think that we're so different, and I'm sure that's true for us and people who are, you know, 80 and stuff. And the first time someone calls you ma'am at a store, you're like, I'm not a ma'am. I'm 21 and I'm hot.
You are hot.
I would just like to share that when you're
young, you always hurry to get older to do all the things that grown-ups can do. And when you're grown up, you realize the things in your youth that you really treasure.
Yeah.
So enjoy your youth.
Kind of like, when you're young, you want to grow up, and when you're grown up, you want to go back to your kid. Thank you. So now that we've heard these interesting definitions of growing up, personally, I believe that the RE service is a marker in this process. I think that one does not grow up with time, but instead with knowledge. So it's fair to say that throughout the years, the religious education program has been raising. It's incredible how much we learn through this program. And today, we would like to share with you some of what we have learned this year. Please rise for our opening hymn. Okay, I guess we're doing this in a round. So, we're going to sing it once all together, and then once, two, how about two parts? Okay, two parts. So, part one, and then part two would start on the second line.
So once round rings off, and then the first part starts, and the second part starts, and the same first one. Okay, so everybody sings twice.
Please remain standing for our church covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law.
This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our chalice fighters today will be Robbie Petrie and Gary Downford.
No man ever believes that the Bible means what it says. He is always convinced that it says what he means.
I would also like to light the chalice for this quote from the book The Prophet of Yonwood. Or if no one finds it, then it can all be for God, only not for the prophet's God. For me, picky God, just like so many things, is for my God, the God of dogs and snakes and dust mites and albino bears and Siamese twins, the God of stars and starships and other dimensions, the God who loves everyone and makes everything marvelous.
Allison Schwartz narrates the story for all ages. Okay, this is a story from a book called Wisdom Tales from Around the World. And the story is called The Wise Master. There once was a teacher who lived with a great number of students in a rundown temple. The students supported themselves by begging for food in the bustling streets of a nearby town. Some of the students grumbled about their humble living conditions. In response, the old master said one day, "We must repair the walls of this temple. Since we occupy ourselves with study and meditation, there is no time to earn money. We will leave. I have thought of a simple solution." All of the students eagerly gathered closer to hear the words of their teacher. The master said, "Each of you must go into the town and steal goods that can be sold for money. In this way, we will be able to do the work of repairing our town or of repairing our temple." The students were startled at this suggestion from their wise master, but since they respected him greatly, they assumed he must have good judgment and did not protest. The wise master said sternly, "In order not to defile our excellent reputation by committing illegal and immoral acts, please be certain to steal when no one is looking. I do not want anyone to be caught." When the teacher walked away, the students discussed the plan among themselves. "It is wrong to steal," said one. "Why has our wise master asked us to do this?" Another retorted, "It will allow us to build our temple, which is a good result." They all agreed that their teacher was wise and just, and they must have a sensible reason for making such an unusual request. They set out eagerly to town, promising each other that they would not disgrace their school by getting caught. "Be careful," they called to one another. "Do not let anyone see you stealing." All of the students except for one boy set forth. The wise master approached him and asked, "Why do you stay behind?" The boy responded, "I cannot follow your instructions to steal when no one will see me. Wherever I go, I am always there watching. My own eyes will see you steal." The wise master tearfully embraced the boy. "I was just testing the integrity of my students," he said. "You were the only one who has passed the test." The boy went on to become a great teacher himself. Are there any announcements?
We're going to do our tree dedication this afternoon after service. So if you're interested, if you're going to bike, we're going to meet at the back door over here about 11:45. So you'll have some time to have some refreshments and fuel up. If you're going to meet us there via car, we expect to be there around noon, maybe 12:05. And if you need to know where it is, just come see me. In Wilmette, where the Green Bay Bike Trail meets the fire station, just north of Forest Avenue there.
We have a couple of really fun events coming up where we have opportunities to promote our congregation and the events that we have going on. The first one is Family Action Network on May 21st. And we're looking for 3 to 4 volunteers that will just man a table and be able to talk about what you like about Lakeshore Unitarian. So if you're interested in that, we would love to have volunteers. Anybody's welcome to volunteer. There's a sign-up sheet over there next to the t-shirts. And then also we're going to be attending 2 sidewalk sales this summer. The first one is the Winnetka sidewalk sale, which is July 18th and 19th. And we're looking for volunteers. I think we need about 6 for Saturday and Sunday. And then the same goes for the Glencoe Art Festival, which is August 2nd and 3rd. And sign-up sheets are over there, so please sign up and help promote Lakeshore Unitarian.
And if you sign up for the fan program, you can get to also attend the program itself, which is Temple Brandon and her mother both speaking at the same, well, separately, but on the same stage. And the program should be absolutely phenomenal. So, King's
I'm coming home. This is not for fashion statement, really. I mean, you can wear it if you like it, but this is mainly for. This is Joanne modeling the video. This is mainly for what we do in a social services project or going to the sidewalk sale and all those. We would like to have a little bit of uniformity, and that's why we made this T-shirt. It's for sale, $15 per shirt. Sizes are small to extra large, adult size. Quantity is limited, so please come see me after the service.
Thank you, Aiden. Just wanted to add on the summer sidewalk sales that if you'd like to volunteer, the shifts are like 3 hours. So we're not asking you to sign up for all of Saturday and Sunday, although if you want to. In Ken Garvey's absence, just wanted to mention we are planning our next dinner for 8, just to remind you, on Friday, May 30th. So if you would like to either host or attend those events, they're super fun. Let Ken know and he'll get you on the list.
Now me and Allison will do the creation of the world. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep.
And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning on the first day.
And God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the water, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And God called the expanse this heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning the second day.
And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And the waters that were gathered together he called the seas. And God saw that it was good.
And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants, yielding seeds, and fruit trees, bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth."
And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and for years. And let them be lights in the expanse of heavens to give light upon the earth." And God made 2 great lights, a greater light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night, and the stars.
And God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the expanse of the heavens." And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth."
And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds."
Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth."
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them.
And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on earth."
And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 6th day.
So that was our creation of the world. We would like to explain our creation of the world picture.
This is one of the lessons we learned one of the weeks. So, Ravi, you come up to the front.
In the beginning, like it said, there was nothing. It was just the earth, and that was really it.
And then we drew an explosion, like the Big Bang. We drew an explosion of a volcano, and dust was rising. And then,
after that, we drew the Earth after it was completely made, and that's this part over here.
And the last part is when creatures thrived and trees and life was made. And yeah.
Now, just Hank and Robbie Petrie will do David and Goliath.
Hold on, guys. Offertory.
We'll take the offertory now. Thank you, Jojo Gardy and Bridget Sampson.
And now Justin Bink and Robbie Petrie will do David and Goliath.
So, as you might be able to tell, this is kind of what David's like.
The youngest son of Jesse was called David. He was handsome, healthy, and brave. He helped his father take care of the sheep in the field. David liked music and played the harp. At different times, he was called to the palace to play his harp for King Saul. David's music was soothing to keep the king during his illness.
While just a youth, David's 3 older brothers went to fight a battle with King Saul. They were fighting against the Philistines, who were enemies of the Israelites. One day, David's father asked him to take some food to his brothers and bring back news on how they were doing. The following morning, David rose early, loaded up on food, put someone in charge of taking care of the sheep, and left. When he arrived at his brother's campsite, he saw the Philistine enemies on the opposite hill. The leader of the Philistines was Goliath, a very large, strong warrior, over 9 feet tall. No Israelite soldier had courage to fight against him.
David said to King Saul and told him, "No one should be afraid of Goliath, because I will fight him." The king told him that he could not do this since he was young. David responded, "King Saul, on different occasions I protected my father's sheep by killing a lion, even a bear. Just as God has protected me from the fierce lion and bear, God will now protect me against the huge leader of the Philistine army."
Saul answered, "Go, and may God help you." He insisted that David use the king's armor. David put on the bronze helmet, put the bronze helmet on his head and the coat of armor. But David had trouble walking because he was not used to wearing them. So David removed them and only took with him his sling and his staff, a long shepherd's stick. David went toward Goliath. When David arrived at the stream, he chose 5 smooth stones and put them into his shepherd's bag. David went closer to the Philistine leader.
When Goliath saw the youth, he made fun of him. However, David answered, "You come against me with javelin, spear, and sword, but I come against you with the all-powerful God of Israel. Today God will give me victory over you." Then David ran closer to Goliath, took a stone from his bag, and put it in his sling. He hung his sling around and around and around, and then finally let it go. The stone hit Goliath's forehead and fell to the ground. David won the battle with God's help.
God's help. After this, King Saul sent David out to lead the fight against the Israelites' enemies. God continued to give David victories.
God chose David to rule Israel because he wanted a man after his own heart who would serve him and obey his commandments. David served as a king of Israel for 40 years.
There is a different explanation for this story. We, in religious education, we watched a video, and there was this man named Malcolm Gladwell who proposed a different version, in that David actually had the advantage all along. It proposes that Goliath actually had this condition called acromegalia, where there's a tumor on your pituitary gland in your brain. And this produces extra human growth hormone. This tumor actually also presses on the visual cortex of the brain, which could give you double vision, extreme nearsightedness, or even blindness. So, in the story of David and Goliath in the Bible, it explains that Goliath actually needed someone to escort him down to the stream. So this actually it gives lots of evidence for the story.
Another reason is that David had a sling. Sling is like, it's when a rock propels at very high speeds and you hit your enemy with that rock. And you can't, all Goliath had was a javelin. You can't knock a rock out of the sky with a javelin. It's physically impossible.
So David has this shepherd's staff that he uses for this staff to whirl around. And as he's coming closer to Goliath, Goliath says, "Are you a dog that comes at me with sticks?" But David only had one stick. So this proposes a double vision. So this is basically just showing that this story, where it's basically the story about the underdog, isn't like that at all. Thank you.
Michelle and I will now read the Tower of Faith.
So this is the story of the Tower of Babel. I'll start. Now the whole world had one language and one common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there.
They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and make them thoroughly." They used bricks instead of stone and tar for wood.
Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth."
But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other."
So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. Now we're going to lead you guys in a discussion about diversity and, the different languages that we have. We're talking about the pros and cons. We're going to list them over there. We'll shout. So what do you guys think are the pros and cons of diversity in different languages? Just raise your hand.
Well, for instance, you might need a different language to relate to a different bioregion. So where people from Alaska, Inuits, supposedly have 10, 15 words for snow, because there are 10 different words for snow. And pre the 1700s or 1800s, time of people in India had no word for religion because it was just their life way. There was no separate thing called religion. So it could be that people in different places need different words to relate to their environment and their social circumstances.
Certainly. So you would argue that this created variety.
Yes, and needed variety to adapt.
Certainly. Anyone else?
Language creates depth and abstract thought, so you can have Shakespeare in English, and there could be a Shakespeare in Chinese and Arabic. And if you had one language and you only have one Shakespeare, but if you have different languages, you have multiple Shakespeares in the world. Very good.
Anyone else?
I think that having different languages makes life more interesting, and that we all spoke the same, look the same, live in the same area, life would be very boring. But the fact that the world is made up of so many different cultures and languages and environments, it makes life a lot more interesting and exciting, and we can all learn from each other through the different types of languages that we all speak.
Robbie in the back.
Diversity creates a lot of problems.
Okay.
Racism.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a con.
Okay.
I think there are many, many pros about different languages, that's for sure. One of the cons for me, as someone who speaks 3 different languages, is that sometimes it's easier to convey a certain feeling in one language, and when you learn another language and you always search for the same kind of feeling to convey and you don't have the right words,
Yeah.
you're always missing that out, so I don't know how
You
you
get lost in
it.
translation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think one of the pros is that it's having different languages. You can like learn different languages. It makes you smarter.
Yeah.
And also, if sometimes you can use them in a way, like which way makes you more comfortable in saying that way, what makes you feel better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Peggy had it in it for a while.
Well, I think diversity is great, but I think we should all speak the same language, because that would improve communication worldwide.
Wasn't that the idea with, what was it, Esperanto? I don't think that.
I don't think it went very well.
On the same vein as what Peg said, that there are times when, even for safety's sake, it's much better if everyone speaks the same language. As pilots, they all really need to know English so that you're safe all around the world. You can always communicate, no matter what language you speak.
Taylor?
I don't know if this is too much of a stretch, but if you have different languages, that often means different cultures, which means really good food.
That's not a stretch. That's the truth.
Well, and also it doesn't go into culture because in some languages, I, for example, there is no word for no. So in translate, so it's a very interesting window into the culture of a particular region.
Yeah.
Or a place like Indonesia where it's a very simple language construct, mainly because it was used for trade between thousands of islands.
Definitely. In class, we really talked about, I guess we were a little bit critical of God, I'm not going to lie, and his decision to confuse language, because we talked about what would the world be like if we didn't have these divisions that sometimes have, well, recently, and I guess historically, have been very violent. How would the world be if we didn't have these divisions?
I don't think that's valid. We have civil wars to show for that. The same language actually gives people just as much to fight about, it's from sports teams on up to slavery,
Yeah. No, very true, very true. We find other things to fight about other than cultural differences.
We're always fighting.
Yes.
And if you decided that everyone was going to have the same language, how would you separate that from dynamics of power? So, for instance, in the state-run schools that we administered for Native Americans who have 500 different language groups, we beat the children in those schools and told them they couldn't speak their own languages, and they all had to speak English, and that didn't help them get along better or us get along better with them. So I don't think you can say, oh, let's all speak the same language and not take into consideration the dynamics of power of the people in power imposing one language.
Yes, certainly. Let's see. Doug?
The question I have is, if you were going to populate a new planet, are you going to bring people who speak different languages, or is everybody the same?
This is a very, I'm not God, so I can't.
Do you think new languages would arise naturally?
I think that in the Unitarian worldview, I think that different languages develop naturally. Not necessarily because everybody started in Israel and spoke the same language and God decided to create divisions amongst people. And I do actually think that diversity is a wonderful thing, and as Taylor said, we get great food as a product, among other things.
I just wanted to mention something, I don't know if it's related, but I always find it very interesting, and I mean it in a sarcastic way, that even when you say something, in English, explain it one way, like let's just take Bible, and there's a million ways of explaining a certain phrase or a word. It's so open to suggestions or explanations, interpretations. So you can speak one language and people might still not understand what you're talking about. Exactly. So even one language within itself is a whole universe there. But also, I think in the case of religion, it's must be very confusing. A lot of people who try to believe in religion feel that. There's so many different kind of interpretations. Exactly. And even talking about how many times the Bible has been translated and transcribed, it's evolved into something probably very different from what it started out as. Ashley?
I think that if people didn't have if people had the same language, then it wouldn't be that fun. So yes, if people did like they do now, then it'd be fun to learn how you say Spanish, French.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for participating in this discussion. And I'm going to let this go. Well, I'm going to say I'm going to pick the side that there's definitely a lot of pros to diversity. My mom and I have been considering places to travel to for a graduation gift for me, and I don't think there would be as much satisfaction in traveling everywhere was basically the same. So that's my 2 cents. But I also think, scattering everyone across the world definitely created problems with, when you're studying history, you can see like through, the slave trade and other things, it definitely created issues. But I think it also created some great things.
I agree with that the creation of cultures in different with different languages was definitely the positive of God's decision in the Bible. But I also agree that spreading people out did have some conflict, although I suppose that it was better for the environment if not all the resources were used up in one small populated area. Yeah. And now Perry Allenport and Addison Williams will do Fishers of Men.
Why don't you guys come over here? I want to be able to see you.
Fishers of Men. 4 of Jesus' first followers were fishermen. They were brothers, Andrew and John, and 2 other brothers, Philip and Peter. These men fished in the Sea of Galilee, a huge lake. In the land around the sea, of Galilee. She's having trouble reading, so I'm going to read it. In the land around the Sea of Galilee, Jesus had attracted many who wanted to hear his message. He was especially popular in the town of Capernaum. One day, when he was staying there, he went out to the lake. He was followed by a great crowd of people who had been eagerly waiting to hear him speak and perhaps hoping they would see a miracle. On the shores of the lake there were 2 boats, one of which belonged to Simon Peter and Andrew. The other was operated by the brothers James and John and their father. The fishermen were working on the nets on the shore. Jesus wanted all the crowd to see and hear him, so he stepped into the boat of Simon Peter and his brother Andrew. He asked them to push it into the middle of the lake so the crowd gathered on the shore would not be pressed around him. The fishermen set the boat into the lake and Jesus spoke to people from the boat as they stood on the beach. When Jesus had spoken and the people had gone, he saw that the fishermen had not caught any fish on their last trip. He told Simon Peter to take the boat out into the deep water and let down his net for fish. Simon Peter replied that they had fished all night without catching any. Well, he knew that whatever Jesus told them to do would be the right thing, so they rowed towards the middle of the lake. They put out their nets and soon caught a powerful tug of fishermen. They tried to pull in the net and found it was so full that they could not. They called to James and John in their boat nearby to help. The 4 men hauling with all their might finally got the net up to the boat and showed the fish pouring into it. There were so many fish that both boats. This was a catch such as they have never seen from the lake. Simon Peter was overcome with
with amazement at the sight. He realized that Jesus had powers and could not understand. He fell at the feet of Jesus and said, "Depart me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord." Peter felt that he did not deserve such a gift from God and could not walk with the Son of God. But Jesus told him, "Do not be afraid. Henceforth you will be fishers of men." And Simon Peter understood that Jesus meant he should leave his fishing and join him in helping to spread his word to the other men. When they got back to the land, all 4 fishermen abandoned their nets and their boats. They went with Jesus to learn from him and to help him teach others.
On the following Sabbath, they went with Jesus to the synagogue, and Jesus spoke to the people and tried to teach them. But the people were surprised at his teaching, for the scribes in the synagogue taught only what had been written before, while Jesus taught as one who spoke directly for God. He did not need the support of words others had written.
Please write one belief you feel is important and should be spread to others.
On the fish. Very good job. Right. So next we're going to have Michelle Bank. She is a graduating senior this year, and she would like to say a few words before the end of the school year and leaving LSUS to go off to college, which is a good thing, but a sad thing too. So take it away, Michelle.
Hello. Okay. Being a Unitarian has taught me much more than I think I could have learned in any other religion, because I've learned about other religions, which has taught me to be understanding and open-minded of the people around me. And being a Unitarian has also given me choices to be whatever I want to be, without the limitations that many other religions impose. You know, to believe in a higher power or to not believe in a higher power. Or to believe in an afterlife or oblivion, or to believe in souls and spirits or not. This freedom forced me at a very young age to face many difficult questions about my faith. At my faith statement when I was 13, I was asked to name my beliefs. I realized that I'm a much more liberal person, with very liberal beliefs both politically and spiritually. I hope to stay Unitarian Universalist for the rest of my life, no matter where I am or who I'm with. Being a Unitarian is a part of me, despite not always being eager to come to RE on Sunday mornings. I want to thank Molly for being such a great RE teacher for these past few years. You were the best I've ever had, honestly. Whether I was over in RE or an audience member during the service, I really enjoyed the knowledge that I could gain about the world and myself, and the spiritual discussions I was asked to take part in. Although I will be going to school at the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, Washington next year, I will continue to remember the experiences that I had here at LSUS. Part of the reason I was so interested in the colleges in the Northwest was because of the liberal atmosphere that is very prevalent in that area. I know that I will continue to have interesting discussions and lectures such as the ones I experienced at LSUS in Tacoma, and I am so excited to keep Unitarianism a part of me throughout the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We will miss you in RE, but I'm very happy for you. College is a wonderful thing, and it's awesome. So thank you all for coming this morning. This is our annual religious education service. As you can tell, this year we did Bible stories, both from the Old Testament and the New Testament. And I have a quote to share with you to wrap up. Desmond Tutu said, "When the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, 'Let us pray.' We closed our eyes. When we opened them, we had the Bible and they had the land." Although I would like to respect the Bible, and we certainly took a respectful approach to it, I think it's extremely important when you're studying the Bible to remember how powerful religion is and how powerful the word of the Bible is. Many people take it literally, and that is not how we teach it at LSUS. Through the activities, I'm sure you noticed, we took a critical eye and we even questioned God sometimes, which I think is a very healthy way to look at the world, and a healthy way to look at religion, to approach it with questions instead of simply seeking answers, although answers can be sought from religion. I would like to say thank you to the coming of age students, Corey Eddington and Allison Schwartz. Thank you so much for sharing your own spiritual development with us this year. And I would also like to say thank you to everyone in the congregation for your continued support for our program, particularly Susan Bank and Michelle Schwartz for always stepping up, volunteering to teach, and kind of keeping this program running with me. So with these fish, thank you for writing down what beliefs you think that should be spread. Since, again, as Unitarians, we don't necessarily believe in evangelizing the word of Jesus. There are other beliefs and values that we believe others should probably hold dear to them as well. So thank you for sharing. You can decorate them after the service if you would like. I brought crayons. Other than that, thank you.
We'll have a closing here.